Testing.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We can
I was
hear
feeling very
you.
uncomfortable to be silent for so long.
Okay, we will start in a few seconds. Yes, yes.
I was feeling very uncomfortable to be silent for so long. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we are live broadcast on Zoom and also on YouTube. And let me just adjust my screen here a bit. Yeah. Okay, so we have a few loyal viewers, loyal attendees. I see Mr. Larry Ong. Hi, Larry, and a few others. CH Tan, you've been with us since the beginning. Gracie, our principal consultant of Place Borneo, she's here as well. Dr. John Chan, and there's one number that I can't see the name, so I can't identify you. Perhaps you want to rename yourself. So, and a few more others. And we have also viewers on YouTube. Yep, so we're gonna start right about now. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Tuesday Talk Live. And this is a show by Place Borneo. My name is Mona Abdul Manap. I'm the CEO of Place Borneo, and I'll be your host for today. For those of you who have been with us since the beginning, we started in MCO and we did it once a week. Now we're doing it every 2 weeks because everyone's getting a bit busier. And so welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are on the 15th episode actually today. And for those of you who are new, the Tuesday Talk Live is a platform for us to share ideas, information, knowledge, and especially solutions for us to share with each other what solutions we can come up with, especially in these challenging times. And this is an unprecedented times, and a lot of us have not gone through anything like this before, and that's why we need new ways of thinking, fresh perspectives or fresh new perspectives of looking at things and creative solutions. And that's why today our topic is unleashing your creativity. So it's a bit difficult for some businesses and for some individuals. And because of that, you need to look at things differently so that you can find a new solution to the same situation or a slightly different situation and looking at it in a different way. So some people, well, this is from YouTube, actually, from Google. Creativity is the use of imagination or ideas to come up with, to create something, to invent something, and turning them into reality. And also to look at things in a different way so you can see new patterns or new connections in a situation. And because of those new connections that you see, you can come up with new solutions that you've never seen before in that particular situation. And today we're going to talk to some people, a few speakers. We've got someone from the corporate side, business creativity, from the artistic creativity section. So a lot of people think creativity is artistic expression. It's not just that. That's a big part of it. And I guess a lot of people talk mostly about artistic expression when we talk about creativity. But being in business, you also have to be creative. Even a politician, you need to be creative to come up with new policies, maybe something new to suit the new times that we're having right now. And going on to our speakers, first of all, we have, let me just adjust this. Yeah. So we have, first one, we have Linda Lowe, Managing Director and Principal Consultant and Lifetime Master Trainer of the De Bono Thinking Systems. For those of you who are not aware of Edward De Bono, you should be, father of lateral thinking book. And he is a creative thinking expert. Linda herself is a veteran in the field of strategic thinking and creativity. And she is the official representative for Edward De Bono in Asia and has been one for the past 35 years. So yes, that's a long time in the creative industry. creative thinking industry, excuse me. And she specializes in one-on-one CEO and management coaching, particularly in coaching high potentials for succession planning. So that's great stuff for your business if you're looking at that right now. Right. So the next one, welcome, Linda. The next one, we have Meldrick Bob Udos. I think a lot of you guys would know him here. He is the leader of the highly popular band called Ad Adao, who created a name for themselves internationally, worldwide, in the arena of world music. So if you know the Rainforest World Music Festival, Sarawak is very famous for that. So they created a name starting from there. And the band was established in 2014, and Bob was entrusted to lead the band because, well, he is creative and he has an ear for mixing traditional sounds with modern tunes. So today he's going to share with us his personal experience on how to actually be creative. That's very interesting stuff. So welcome to the show, Bob. And last but not least, also someone I think a lot of us know here, Jacqueline Fong, founder of Tanoti Srian Berhad, or better known as Tanoti House here. I think a lot of you guys know the place as Tanoti House. It was set up in 2012 after they took over a bunch of Songket weaving community. Songket is a local textile that we have here. And they started with 11 weavers, and now they have 350 artisans across the state, and they work with 25 rural or remote communities here in Sarawak. Her vision is that anyone with skills and talent are able to generate viable income for themselves, and Tanoti aims to be that platform to assist artisans to elevate their livelihood, their lifestyles through their craft. So she's going to share with us on her point of view managing these creative crafters today. Welcome to the show, Jacqueline, and all the other speakers. Now, for those of you on Zoom, you can ask your questions on the Q&A, and we'll be picking them up along the way as we're talking. And for those of you on YouTube, just type your question on the chat box, and we'll also be able to pick them up from there. Okay, as usual, we're going to start with 3 to 5 minutes of individual presentation by the speakers. They'll be talking about themselves, the topic itself, anything. And then we'll head right on to the discussion. So think of your questions now and put them on the Q&A while we do the individual speaking sessions. So we'll start with Linda. Linda, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. Now we are discussing the topic of creativity during this very unprecedented time. And many individuals and corporations are now trying to find out how do they actually survive this COVID-19. And in all my 35 years of doing the De Bono program, conducting workshops on creativity, I've never encountered such a huge demand today for the need to enable their employees to use the lateral thinking tools and creativity tools to come up with new ideas, alternatives, and possibilities in looking at the current landscape. All the strategies that they have actually planned don't work anymore because the factors in the landscape has changed. What used to work last time, they are either no longer applicable because resources are different, they are limited, and they got to really find new ways with at least a decent chance of success almost immediately. So when they come to me, they say that, please, what do we do? How do we set direction for ourselves? When things keep changing every day and they don't even know what direction they should set for themselves. So we introduce Dr. De Bono's creative thinking techniques so that they learn and master these skills, and they'll be able to use it to formalize their creative thinking sessions. And when they master the skills, actually, they are rather motivated. They see that it actually worked because it helped give them ideas beyond brainstorming. And this is what we found, that creativity can be honed. Given the skills in a scenario, especially during a crisis when some people just don't know what to think. They use the techniques to break out of their normal thinking patterns of the brain so that they move into new perceptions, look into alternatives and possibilities that they never thought about. And more importantly, this is to help them to strive, but also to thrive beyond COVID-19 during the post-pandemic landscape. So today, I'm happy to be here to share with you how these companies or corporations actually, or private individuals, actually make use of these lateral thinking techniques or the creative thinking techniques of Edward de Bono to help them, their own lives and their businesses as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Linda. That was really motivational. I think you're also a motivational speaker, right? I was getting all absorbed into that for a moment there. Okay, next one, let's have Bob. The floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Bob. I'm a band leader for Adadao. Adadao has been involved in the music scene since 2014. And at first, my friend named Jackson Lian, he approached me to join this band. Okay, so I asked him what is the concept of the band. So he told me that let's play around with traditional. So straight away, my thinking was, why don't we make traditional cool again? So we want people to accept uh, traditional instrument nowadays in the modern life and let people see the traditional instrument is as cool as modern instrument nowadays. So that is the mission of Aradao. So we we have 6 band members, and everyone have different ideas and crazy ideas about. Sometimes it ridiculous, ridiculously they just throw their ideas, and that's the fun part of being in a band, which is you we all work together and we come up with mutual understanding to create something that everyone can accept it and listen to it. So then we realize that along the road, when we are in the band, we realize that it's important to respect and to accept everyone's opinion. And when you accept everyone's opinion, their creative side of thinking, then it's easy for us to meet our mutual understanding, because all the creative side is not how to say, it's really sincerely from your heart. Because back then, I believe everyone, all those speakers, back then when we are still kids, we already use our imaginary to make to have fun with ourselves. Back then we don't have any gadget, right? Yeah, we don't have any gadget. We can play in the river. We can play hide and seek in the river. You know, we can create our own PUBG in the river. So we use that creative mind when we're still kids. You know, so so that triggered me to involve in creative life, because it's so fun and it fit my mind, saying that we can make our lifestyle more positive with creative, with our own creativity. So Adadao have that spirit. It's not only for the sake of music, but we really enjoying being creative and put as far as we can how to make a traditional instrument cool again. And still, it still can be accepted to the older generation and also to the younger generation. So it's quite tricky. But then again, when we be creative, and we have 6 band members and we have 6 head, and when we think creative beyond our thinking, it's so cool to meet the result, and the result is so unexpected. So that is where we feel that, wow, creative can not only just music, but it changed how you think and how you see things in a very different way. Yeah. So and now I'm involved in my own business. Not only playing music, but I have my own business. So I put a creative mind on my business, and it turned out to be it's not as bad as I think to have a business, as long as you have this mindset of being creative in doing handling in what you're doing. It gives me a very enjoyable journey towards anything you do. So yeah, I'm honored that one of the speakers is Miss Linda Low. Yeah, so maybe I can learn something about being creative and how do we structure the creative inside us, because when you don't disturb your creative inside you just be a normal person. Yeah, you can't see things in a different way. So being creative is very good. It's beyond what you think. Yeah, even now you can be creative now, even we are in just looking at a small screen. Hi Jack. Yeah, so that's it's a good topic to talk about today. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And it's quite interesting you mentioned about something that appeals to the younger generation and the older generation. And you're talking about traditional music and modern music. I think that's something that we're going to talk a bit more. And Jacqueline also had something to say about that when we chatted earlier. So that goes on to Jacqueline. Go ahead with your individual one right now.
Hi, everyone. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be part of such an esteemed panel, and I have to be very grateful to Place Borneo and the organizers for having me in this session. So about me, I used to be a banker, and and as an investment banker, what we did was that we will, in a very, very basic way, we will find people with money and we will repackage it so that we can offer it to people who need the money. So as a banker, we are basically the intermediary between the people who need money and the people who have money. And I was a banker for almost 20 years. What happened with craft? It's a completely different world, but what I did was apply the same mindset to craft. There are a bunch of people who need the money, and there are a bunch of people, a lot of people in the world who actually want to purchase very good quality craft. And here we are at Tanoti, all we are doing is becoming the intermediary, like what a banker is, but in a sense through craft. We will help the people get the craft, repackage it, rebrand it, make it nice, get a story to it, and then we will deliver it to the people who will be able to purchase and hence improve lives and elevate livelihoods. I believe I could be something that Linda would use as a case study, but I'm so sorry, I've never actually studied Edward de Bono. I think I should now. But we are always situational, you know. We will go, oh, this is the situation and the challenge is this. What are we gonna do? And then we face, you know, we go through a little process to be able to address the situation and find a solution, or or a way to help people. But it will never be singularly. Like I can never provide every problem. That's why, like what Bob was saying, we need to do it together. You know, more people working on it together, the better your solution will be, or the more interesting your solution will be, or more effective it will be. So that's a little bit about me and what I do, and our thinking process here at Tanoti. There you go. It's very quick.
All right. Thanks, Jacqueline. I see that you've got a lot of your textile behind you, and a nice dress. I see right immediately behind you. I might go there and have a look one of these days. I've never been to Tanoti House. Yeah, I think I should. And yeah, I didn't know you were an investment banker before, and 20 years at that. That's a long time to be in a I was only in
Yes.
the bank for 3 years, and yeah, about retail banking. Okay,
Right.
so let's start, and let's start with the question: why do we need to be creative? I mean, what's the point of being creative? I can just do things, in a company, just do based on the SOP. Why do you need to think differently, doing things differently? Linda, I see you shaking your head there, and maybe you want to add something to that. Why do we need to be creative?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier on, what we have been doing for the last 10, 20 years, all the case studies that we know, all the things that work may not work now because things have changed. And they very quickly need to come up with new ideas and alternatives. And if they rely on brainstorming is just not good enough because it brings you back to what you have got in the tracks that you have. You can't create new ideas through brainstorming. So, especially in a crisis management situation, they got to think quickly. But the schools never taught us how to think
Mm,
beyond what a logical thinking. And hence, you need new ideas. And when we talk about creativity, it's not only about artistic creativity, trying to be weird, trying to be different, but we are talking about creativity in the form of ideas that will improve, that will simplify things, and to help us survive. If we don't do that, we will stagnate and we will not be able to cope what we are facing now. So there's no choice. You just have to think beyond what you used to think, and we need creative thinking for that.
okay. Yeah, that's a good point, and there's a lot of things that are actually very very new nowadays, like working from home, remote working that was forced on us, and actually that is a very good solution to a lot of businesses, but we didn't want to go into that. We were afraid, but because we were forced into it, now we're thinking, hey, that's actually quite a good solution, and a lot of companies actually let go of their rented offices and save money and just go on remote working the whole way. I think Twitter is doing that. The whole workforce is actually working from home. So some situations actually force you into certain new creative solutions that you could actually apply in your business. But you could also go through that process and come up with solutions instead of just waiting for them to, descend on you. And Jacqueline, I think you had a very good answer to why we should be creative.
Do I?
Yes.
Um, Actually, I have a very selfish answer to be creative. We should really be creative because every day should be different. We
Mhm,
should really be creative because we should have fun, right?
mhm,
Um, w- we um, it is obviously difficult to survive,
mhm,
especially now. A lot of people are suffering because of COVID. Very, very difficult to survive as a business, or difficult to put food on the table. And you know, people need to pivot very quickly. And if they don't start thinking of ways to pivot, or to make good, then the situation gets worse. So being creative to be able to address all your challenges is very important. But over and above that, you know, don't stop having fun lah. I think it's important to enjoy the process.
And you also mentioned that we're being replaced by robots, and that's one of the reasons why we have
That's
to be
true.
creative. Yeah, so
That's true.
did you want to talk
That's
about
true.
that?
Yeah. You know, my business is doomed to failure because everything is done by hand. But my belief is that every industry has the ability to be mechanized and to be run by robots, except the creative industry. So if we are in the creative industry, and you know, great job, Bob. But if we're in the creative industry, I think we have more chance of surviving than any other industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I should look into the creative industry now. Start playing some instruments, maybe. Bob, how about you? Why do we need to be creative? What do you think about
Um, Before I involved in music, last time I used to be a lecturer. I used to be a lecturer tutoring in one of the private college here in Kuching. So I teach student, and they can become one day they can become a good mechanic. Okay, so I involve myself in automotive industry. Okay, so the student that I taught, they are they're good in hands-on. Okay, they're good in hands-on, but they are not really good in theory. Okay, so at that point I start to use creative method to teach them. Even though we are dealing with engine cars, in the factory is all done by the robot. Yes, and then only certain percentage is done by the human. So when you teach those that not really good in theory, and I always believe that everyone have ability when it comes to hands-on. Okay, so I approach them in a very creative way, and I realize they can catch my teaching very well. So I was like, oh, okay, you guys tengok buku pun tidak mau. Yes, but when it come to when they hold spana, when they hold tools, and I use a creative method to teach them, and they instantly they know what's the study about. It's really impressed me. So that really turned me. It's really turned my mind that being a creative is not only forcing you to be creative, but it helps others to be creative, no matter what it is. It's either in theory or practically. So yeah, unfortunately, I follow my dream. I want to be a musician, so I resigned being a lecturer, and then I realized that feeding my mind with creative really enjoy my life. So I turned to be a musician. At first, I really love playing drum, and then before I'm involved in another DAO, I involved in this group called Drum Circle. Okay, Drum Circle. If you know, it's a lot of drum that everybody can play. So I follow this group and back in KL. So they hire us as a drum circle to play at the corporate event. Okay, to a corporate event, and there's one time I played 300 people corporate. They are having a conference. Yeah, so they're having a conference. So me and this group called One Drum. So we lead them to play drum, and they are not musicians. They are all bosses, CEO. They'll talk about graph, they'll talk about money and all that. But when it comes to drum, they don't know how to play drums. But when someone lead you and create and spark your creative mind inside you, you automatically can play drum. And then it create an orchestration of drum. And those who play is semua orang-orang tua, all the corporate people. They play drum. It look cool. It really look cool. And we are having a 30-minute section. And after that 30-minute section, and they continue the conference, they continue their meeting, they continue all the seriousness inside the conference room. And that effect of being creative when they brought back to their work life, it's totally changed the way they create, the way they think. And it's easily, some of them saying to me that it really helped them to solve a problem. Yeah, on whatever they talk about, whatever they discuss about. Yeah. But when you spend your time like just 5 or 10 minutes of being creative in whatever you do, it really helps to spark some door inside your mind, just because you triggered your creativity inside you. So that's what I learned, that creative is very, 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 very important in your life. Yeah, and creative can convince those old generation that this new generation, our mechanism is being creative is not wrong. For them, it might look ridiculous. But when they see the result, and it turned out to be that, oh, you guys just start by being creative and something good happened.
Yep.
So yeah, being creative is super cool, I can tell. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and I think it's not just about helping yourself or helping your business to get solutions, or to create a new product, a new marketing way or campaign, but it's also about helping others. How do you be more creative so you can help your community, or you can help your whole organization? That means the employees in your organization, your team. So it's not just about you being creative so you feel good and having fun, but it's also about helping others. Even Linda was saying how they helped Sri Lanka after the tsunami, and during a crisis, how do you actually get out of that crisis? By applying creative thinking. So that's really good. And Bob, you're in the creative industries, and they say that the creative arts industry is the hardest hit right now, amongst others. And I guess maybe because the creative industry, like performances, even us as conference organizers, conferences are not an essential industry. So it's not something that requires you to go out of your house. You have to be quarantined at home. So how can practitioners and businesses, which are in this industry right now and we're the hardest hit, how do we reinvent our business to be able to come back? Or is there a success stories that we can share with each other right here? I don't know, Linda, have you got any clients that come up to you? Maybe they're from the creative arts industry.
Creative arts industry, not necessarily the creative arts industry, but I like to share with you that we have always been doing our training face-to-face and deliver face-to-face. So we are all very good at face-to-face training. And all of a sudden, this doesn't exist anymore. And all of us have to go on to virtual. So for the older CEOs, for example, or the older teams in the senior management team, they tend to say that, now, how do I speak to a camera effectively? How do I interact? But the current crisis forced us to do it. And therefore, you will say that we're actually learning new skills of presentation, new skills of communication, and interacting with our team. And they have actually gotten used to it. And in fact, they now love it very much. And as you said earlier on about working from home, that many people years ago, one of the topics they would always discuss in the program is, wouldn't it be nice that we are allowed to work from home, and now they don't even need to ask for it, and they are forced to work from home. And then they say that, hey, working from home is interesting, but it also poses some challenges for them. So now they have to find creative ways of how to handle working from home. So actually, we are looking at not necessarily I'm not sure about the art business, how they survive, but most of my friends who are doing playing at the pubs and all, they have begun to do virtual jam sessions or virtual jazz sessions just to entertain their regular clients, and maybe they sing along.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, I think we have to look at how we can adapt to this new normal as an individual.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks, Linda. That was a question, by the way, but from Gracie Jiki. So that was her question. How can practitioners and businesses reinvent their business to be able to come back? And she was particularly pointing out the creative arts industry. Jacqueline, you're in the creative arts industry, and how was it during this pandemic, and how are you recovering from it right now?
I still haven't recovered. I
Yeah,
haven't had
so
enough
all of us.
sleep. But as soon as the lockdown happened, all our artisans actually stopped producing because obviously times were critical. There was a lot of uncertainty. But there was one thing that Tanoti had, which we thought we could capitalize on to basically work with the situation. During the lockdown, we understood very, very loud and clear that the frontliners were lacking in PPE. So we decided at that time, 1 week into lockdown, end of March, we decided to start a PPE project. And we had group chats of artisans, people who could sew, a huge network of people who had sewing machines and could sew, and got them together to produce PPE for the frontliners. And we did that for 2 months or 2.5 months. Even through RMCO, we have been producing and supplying PPE to the Sarawak General Hospital and a lot of frontline organizations. This is very interesting for craftspeople. They never had to do it before. A lot of people were sewing bags and clothes, but they never had to sew PPE. Interesting experience for everyone, very, very intense. And in fact, we were glad that it ended because it was really too intense. We then decided that when the public comes out during the RMCO period, protecting themselves with their personal PPE was important. So we produced masks, and people who sewed, the sewists, decided then that they will participate in the mask program because they sold PPE. Now they will sew masks, and we've been producing masks until now. Wow. Actually, we have a huge endeavor right now, a project that we set upon ourselves. We're supplying masks to students in Kota Semarahan district. We have to supply to 28,000 students.
Wow.
Hopefully by end of the month, we will complete supplying. It is important that people protect themselves with appropriate PPE. Disposable masks are good, but you may not have access to disposable masks at any time. So a fabric mask will allow you to wash, reuse for a longer period. So that's what we're doing.
Great. And of course,
so no, I haven't slept.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are short of sleep right now. And I think, yeah, the cloth masks are more environmentally friendly, so you don't have to keep throwing away masks. You see it all over the roadside and in the sea, in the ocean. We did a beach cleaning the other day, and we had a lot of these disposable masks that turned up on the beach. So that's really horrible for the environment. And I like that, in this situation, you look at what can you fit into it, you know, in a crisis? So what can you do as a business or as a person to fit into the current situation, not to make money out of it, but to also see how you can help others in this situation. So I think in business, and that's one of the reasons why we started this Tuesday Talk Live. It's a free talk, and it was you know, we're event organizers, conference organizers, and we can't organize anything. We're all at home, so we thought, and we're used to getting speakers and, you know, getting together and talking about certain topics. So why not get them together and share ideas when at this time a lot of people need a lot of solutions and ideas. So I think that's one way of us to come out of this situation, is to see how can we fit into it, not just for ourselves but to help others. That's one key element, I think, in business, is to look at what you can do for others, not for yourself. And in creative thinking, there's always you say this creative block, or, you know, when you stumble upon a day, or, you know, a weeks or months, you know, you have the writer's block, you have the creative block, when you just can't be creative, whatever that means. So how does one get over the creative block? I think, Bob, you're smiling there. Have you ever had a creative block, and how do you go about that?
I just go to sleep. Really, I just
Yep.
go to sleep. At first, I don't know. For me, I need my mind to be empty to come up with something. So I can't handle any problem. I can't digest any problem. If I want to create something new, I really have to be. Yeah, I can say I meditate a lot. I meditate a lot. I'm enjoying being at home alone. Yeah, so I'm thinking of nothing. And then when you busy thinking of nothing, there's something there. They always knock your head. Hello. then it will spark. Yeah, there is spark. So like I give an example. When we first start lockdown at home, to be frank, I was so panicked. I don't know what to do. I was so panicked, and then lockdown at home. I feel so crazy. I don't know what to do. And then I thought that only I feel like this. But at the end, it's all over the world. It's all over the globe is affecting because of this COVID. And then it's a lot that I need to digest. So I put my habit. So I meditate. I don't know what meditate is actually. I just sit down and think of nothing. So one day I suddenly something triggered me, is that, hey, nowadays we have a lot of technology. And I believe that we have technology and there is no excuse for you to do something. Yeah, there is no excuse for you to succeed in whatever you do. You have a lot of platforms. You have Facebook. You have social media. Is really, there is no boundaries between we here and those in America or somewhere. There are no boundaries. We have a lot of social media. So one day I asked my band member, "Hey, dude, I'm bored here. So we need to do something to just to make us feel we are still in the band." So I asked them. I composed one song. I start to disturb them. So I come up with a drum beat, and I film it and I record it and I give to them. Yo, let's be creative. And then they start to so we create a chain. We create a chain. So everyone taking their parts, playing their own instrument at home, start to record it, start to film it and send to me. And yeah, everyone is doing the same. So they give all the what they do, they give to me, and then I start to edit and all that. And it turned out to be a very good music. And I post it on Facebook. And I didn't realize, oh, I can do this. We can do this. So we come up with an concept that Linda talked just now. You mentioned just now. We just jam at home. We just jam at home and post it online and see if someone trigger about it. And yeah, we did good, and we asked help from SMA, Sarawak Multimedia Charities, to make it live on Facebook, so that we want to show to people that this is, try not to be panicked from because of this COVID and all that. We want to show to people that there is no excuse for you not to do something, because we have a lot of social media platform that can reach outside there, and people still know that you are doing something. So yeah, I'm quite grateful on what we have now. And I believe every one of you here, you guys have your own way to market your product or whatever, because we have a lot of social media platform outside there, and yeah, it can help others to spark this idea.
Thanks, Bob. And I think again, we come back to actually doing things for others, and you created that music, so you could actually motivate others to tell them, hey, you could actually do things at home, even during a lockdown. So that's really good, and you're showing people that things are possible, only if you try. And well, it's not as great as live music, live performance, but it is something that we could do to entertain ourselves when we're at home. And not be alone. We can be with someone virtually. And okay, I'm just gonna bring this into the corporate scene a bit, and I think Linda, you'd be the best person to talk about this. How do we actually have a creative thinking process in the company, or what steps can we take to actually have a session with our team, for example? So is there a few steps that you can take to actually lead them into creative thinking environment or session?
Yeah, very important is to actually create a microculture of creativity within the organization, because it's also important that you should make creative thinking a formal part of thinking within the organization. So you're not there only to do the work, but you do the work and you give us the thinking for free, you see. So one of the ways we normally recommend our clients, and they actually do it, is they create a space for thinking, a specific time for creative thinking. So some of them may, on a Friday afternoon, after lunch, they come back, they clear whatever emails they have got, the leftover business that they have to do. And then at 3 o'clock, everybody clears the table and sit down just to do creative thinking. It's not necessary to think about problems that they need to solve. They need not even think about work topics, but just sit together using the creative techniques that they have learned. They start to think. So it can be talking about improving the pantry, how to make the office more conducive for work, and how to make people enjoy coming to work, and how to actually connect with our clients. And even if there's no problems, the situation is already very good. They are already smiling. But in creativity, the rule is that we must improve the situation. So we want to make the smile even wider, simpler, improvement, make it more interesting. So we create time and space for that. And of course, they normally send their employees to learn the tools. Now, the important and interesting part about learning tools is, even if somebody thinks that he's not creative, once he knows how to use the tools, he gains the mastery of using the tools, and he finds that, wow, I can do that, and he becomes motivated. And with motivation, he tends to be more creative. So it actually just goes on and rolls on. And if the entire department or company say, okay, come, let's do a creative session, and people are very comfortable about it. So important to create a culture so that creative ideas need not just come from inspiration, but you can actually use techniques to generate new perceptions, new alternatives, new way of doing things, and it becomes part of them. That contributing in creative ideas was just part of it. And I remember when I was much younger, I was also working in a bank in my first job way back in the 70s. And we have a 5.5 day week. But I remember we had a very, very good senior vice president who says that on a Saturday for half a day when you come, many of you are just thinking about going for your golf game or your tennis game or going swimming. So you are not interested in working, but you have to come on a Saturday morning from 9 to 1. So why don't we make our Saturday mornings as creative thinking times? And we actually did that. And we all look forward to our Saturday mornings because we know we are going to work, but we are going to work to think not about work per se or problems, but actually we sit there and then we discuss anything. We come up with focuses and then we do creative thinking. But of course, at that time, we didn't have techniques to do that yet. So we just brainstorm. But now most companies, they learn the techniques and they can almost say that use the techniques, we can have creativity on demand, they say. I find that my clients, the departments and all, they enjoy it so much that they look forward to sessions like this. They call it creative thinking sessions. Part of
Wow.
their
That's fantastic. Creativity on demand. I like that. And you would think that, sometimes creativity is just an inspiration that suddenly pops up, or you're doing something else, or like Bob mentioned, after you meditate or after you sleep on it, and then you come up with the idea. But sometimes you can actually create ideas on demand or create creative solutions on demand. So if you follow the processes and the tools, and right now we've got a lot of tools. Well, Edward de Bono is one of them. I think one of the better ones, I guess. And there's a lot of tools online for those of you who would want to explore this. And I think knowing the tools will actually help you in the process of having your team into a creative thinking session or space, as you call it. That's great. And there's a
Interestingly, this is also applicable to students in schools.
Okay.
Yeah, we have thinking classes for students, and we find that even at 8-year-old, when they use the De Bono thinking methods, they come up with stories for their plays, for their drama, and even for their essay writing. So it is they use the methods as structured thinking, but including creativity.
Wow.
Yeah, so
We never had that in school.
no, we never had it in school. And so De Bono has a very famous program, the largest program for thinking program for children called the Koch program. And we also start to introduce them the six hats. We have a school in Singapore and started in 1992. And what happened is the students come and learn creative thinking methods and the methods of Dr. De Bono. And they actually use it even when they're adults now in their corporate world. So
Okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
That's great. I wish we had that in school before. We never taught how to think in any way of thinking. And I had this talk with Jacqueline earlier during the trial run, and how traditional arts or the creative arts, especially using traditional weaving, traditional music. Sometimes the older generation, they refrain to be creative because they don't want the traditional music to change. It's supposed to be that way. Don't change, don't be innovative with this, because this is what our ancestors have given it down to us. So in traditional culture, how do you, I think Jacqueline termed this very well, depart from customs and traditions and be creative, and yet still maintain that original idea, original form of art that is handed down from the ancestors? Jacqueline, maybe you want to talk about this. We spoke about this briefly that day.
Yeah, it's actually a dilemma with craft. The people who believe that they have custody over craft are the people who have been practicing it for a long time. The grandmothers. or the village elders. And then the craft then doesn't become new and exciting for actually the market that wants to buy it. So what happens is that there is a disparity in expectation and also delivery. We do songket, and songket is a beautiful fabric. It's a brocade with gold and silver threads. And songket of 100 years ago is like the songket of 60 years ago. It's like the songket of 30 years ago. It's like the songket of 10 years ago. And why have we not reimagined an evolution for songket, right? Architecture is different in every era. You know, you have the Tudorian, you have this, and then you have the kampong house, and now you have the modern, beautifully architecture, tropical homes or something. And if architecture can evolve and fashion can evolve, why can't craft? And why can't music, right? That's my thinking. But obviously, you will create a tension with the people who own the craft or have been practicing the craft for a long time. How do we get it to be more relevant or more present to today? That's the challenge that we have at Tanoti. I don't know if others recognize this challenge, but I believe there will always be dissent when we're talking about culture and elements regarding custom and heritage. Yeah, I could pose the question back to Bob if he has an issue, or if he experiences issues with his music, you know.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think it applies to a lot of crafts, music, fashion, anything that has anything to do with culture, you know, and with the older generation. I think Bob mentioned it, that some of them are beginning to accept even when they see that it's a really nice meld of new and old ideas. And when it brings your country or your state into the international arena, they say, hey, that's not so bad. Now people know Sarawak because of this new way of doing things. And I think it doesn't just apply to crafts or traditional crafts, it applies to businesses as well. So there are traditional or customary ways of thinking or running businesses depending on where you are. For example, in the Asian country, for example, you know, you have to respect the older generation. So even if they're, you know, even if you have a younger person above you as your boss, you know, it will create a sort of a friction, I would say, in a company. So how do you go about that? How do you solve that creatively? And I think there's a lot of ways, you know, when you run things in a company, in operations, there are ways that are handed down in the business. So those are customs in the business itself. So how do you change that without actually rocking the boat too much in the organization? So that's quite, I think that's quite interesting. I don't know if we have any solution for that. Now we have a question. I think this is from YouTube. Can creativity be trained? I think that was something that Linda mentioned briefly before. Linda, would you like to answer this one?
Creativity potential can be honed. Some people have inclination towards certain talents, like they're very good musicians, they're very good artists, they're very good at certain skills, like playing tennis, running. But with training, they become even better. Yes, it's like you are a good runner, but if I teach you, put you on a bicycle, obviously, if you are able to handle the riding of a bicycle, you become better in completing the distance as compared to your natural running ability. So to us, you may have the talent, but honing with practice, with skills training, you become even better at that. So it's like cooking, like you are a natural singer, you pitch well, you sing well, but if you go for vocal training and you practice, you become even a better singer. So it can be honed.
Okay, thanks. And this question is from it's actually from Alcila on YouTube, and she is actually a singer herself. So Alcila, you better start training your singing all the time so that you get better and better. And her second question is, what is the best way to train people to be creative if they are unwelcome to change, or they're a bit, conservative, I would say, to the idea of change? I think Linda, you'd be the best person to answer this.
Now, many people resist change.
Mm-hmm.
This change, you got to do something new, you're not familiar with it. And sometimes when you want to come up with new ideas, some people will tell you, shh, don't give more new ideas, because if you give more new ideas, you will have to work more. So they actually discourage you from being creative. But importantly, I think we have to motivate them. In some cultures or in some companies, they not only train them the skills, but they reward them. They reward them for every reward them, but sometimes if you say that you reward them with trophy to put it on the shelf, it doesn't really mean very much.
Mm-hmm.
Probably they say that if you come up with the creative ideas and you help the company save this amount of money, probably you will get a percentage of the savings, But that is talking about financial terms. But we do a lot of work also for the non-profit organization or the welfare organizations. But here we are talking about helping people to better their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That is not motivational enough, then of course the person just refuses to want to learn creative techniques to be creative. But very often we find that after they find the use for new ideas to help people, to help businesses, to even help their own lives, because even in our own lives, we need new ideas to how to improve relationship with our family members, communicate, how to actually improve ourselves, develop our children. We find that, wow, this is not only talking about business bottom line, but it is really talking about life itself, and find them very, very acceptable in the end.
Okay, so I guess you could think about rewards for someone who may be unwelcome to change or a bit conservative when it comes to new things or new ways of doing things. And the second, what I got from there was, well, if they don't want it themselves, you can't force it on them. So it has to also be a motivational thing from inside. They need to motivate themselves as well and realize that it's actually not just helping the organization, but also helping their own personal lives. And at the end of the day, if they really don't want to change, then there's nothing much you can do. You can't bring the donkey to the water, they say, right?
But in some companies, when they're having meetings, you find that the people who don't want to change will keep quiet when you're asking for ideas. They keep quiet. But after a few rounds, when they keep quiet for a few rounds, and the CEO is there or the bosses are there, they start to say that, wow, others are contributing. I think I better contribute. Number one, I don't want to show my CEO that I'm not a team player, but more importantly, I don't want to show my CEO that I can't think. And you find that their thinking behavior starts to change. And it's very, very nice to see how thinking behavior can change in circumstances like that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot of organizations, and Alcila, I know her personally, in fact, and she runs the Kuching Beach Cleaners Association. So she started it, in fact, and I think from an association point of view, I'm part of the Rotary Club of Kuching, and we have a lot of older members. We also have a lot of younger members, and there's some people, I think. They talk about association, and you're doing things voluntary. So there's no profit sharing, there's no, reward apart from your personal reward that you are doing things for others. And, there's some people who are not willing to change. So they do things in the association the same way they've been doing it for the past 30 years. So I think that's the time for you to actually apply creative thinking on how to handle them, how to find solutions on how you can convince them to change to your way of thinking. Yeah, I had one more thing. I forgot actually what it was. It slipped my mind. Okay, so yeah, it completely went off. I should have noted it down. Anyway, so I think we've had a really good chat. I just feel like we could do more. We could just talk a lot more about this creative thinking and how you actually come up with step by step and for us to actually apply it at home. And for those of you interested, you can always email directly to Linda or email to us, and we can forward it to her. And she can help you with some of maybe give some ideas. Well, actually, you can find them online as well, the Edward De Bono website. We've come up to 1 hour of the show. Unless the other speakers, if you have anything else to add on, I think I would like to end it before we start seeing people leaving the show. Jacqueline or Bob, have you got anything else to add to what we're talking about?
Actually, I was trying to look online on ways that tourism industries had to pivot during COVID-19 outbreak, right?
Yeah.
And there's a very unique model in Bahamas where they earn billions in tourism revenue, and now they earn very little. So the tourism industry has pivoted to be work from home from Bahamas, and they're giving 1-year visas for people who work from home to work from home in Bahamas. And I think that's a very interesting tourism model.
Wow.
I don't know whether we can do it in Sarawak, but to be able to work from home and look at a beach while working from home is better than working from home in a small apartment in New York. I don't know, but it's interesting.
Wow.
It's interesting how they have evolved themselves or pivoted themselves in the midst of a COVID outbreak.
Yeah, I think that's really, really creative, the way they actually fit into the pandemic, and not just to help themselves, but to also help others. I mean, if you're going to work from home, you might as well do it comfortably, and with a good view and good climate, not in a cold situation. I don't know, did they actually approach maybe Edward De Bono to help them to come up with this new idea? I'm not sure. Maybe
did they engage you, Linda?
Jacqueline, I want to visit your tunnel tea house.
You can work from home here too.
I want to visit you. I used to go to Kuching quite a lot, but I miss it so much. I will visit you when the borders are open.
Yeah.
Please
and
do.
Bob, I will listen to your band,
Bob. Okay, Bob, anything else to add on before we wrap up?
For me, being creative can make you do something impossible. That's what I believe lah. That's what I believe. For Atadao, we are now in a stage of thinking of how to be more adaptable in this situation. And I have this vision that we want to promote Atadao just by looking at your screen. So let's say I have this vision that because we have technology now, we have the power of the technology now. We have a good videographer outside there. We have a good people who can come up with app and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of source that we can still share our talent, our creative mind throughout the world.
Yeah.
Just by clicking on that screen to the Sampai, it can bring you to the very long house Orang Ulu there.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's how we want to bring people by having a good visual, 3D visual or something, or whatever you call it, just to be at home, that still that person can go for vacation or anything you can think about it. Just being creative and adapt it to a very modern world nowadays.
Yeah.
Because you can be so ridiculously with creative because we have technology now. So there's nothing impossible now.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And well, I think we could go on forever, but all good things must come to an end. And thank you so much to all the speakers and to all the listeners, to all the attendees that we had. Everyone is creative. Jacqueline, you said you're not creative, but everyone is creative. Okay, nobody is not creative.
Everyone.
Everyone is creative in your own different ways. And
Yeah.
I read online there's the big C creative, the capital C creative, and the small C creative. So there's creativity. So there's some big creative idea, like maybe the Bahamas. I think that's fantastic, what they're doing in tourism. And there's small ways of being creative, just improving your life in the office, or just how you answer the phone. That could also be creative. So those are small C or lowercase c creativity that you could apply in your life in the office to make life easier, to make life simpler. So guys, whatever you learned today, apply them to your life, apply them to your business, and let us know what happens. If you have any thoughts, any comments, just write into us. Or if you have any questions for the speakers, also you can write into us and we can channel it to them. So see you in the next 2 weeks, the next Tuesday Talk Live, the 16th episode. And thank you to all the speakers for being with us today. They are all very busy people. Thanks, Linda, Bob, and Jacqueline for being with us today. And to the rest of you, have a good day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.